What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Salt and Pauper video. This week we are talking about Tarkir DragonStorm, brand new set coming to Magic the Gathering. Pre-releases happened just this weekend, so we are going to drop our best Pauper cards for the set just in time for you guys to pick up your playsets and throw them into some constructed Pauper decks that you can use down at West Coast Pauper. I am throwing a Pauper tournament. That still sounds crazy to me. I have teamed up with Laughing Dragon for MXP Santa Rosa to host a West Coast Pauper Open that is going to lead to a West Coast Pauper Championship in Tacoma, Washington in November. So join us on April 19th at 12 in Santa Clara, California for the first of two Opens in California to win a seat at the Tacoma Championship, maybe some buys for top eights. You know, there's a couple things that are in the works that you might want to be aware of. Wink, wink. But I will be there. I'll even be hosting a fun little mystery event just for funsies right before at 10 a.m. If you're at the event center a little bit early on Saturday, come by, maybe be in a video and play some fun Magic challenges. But we are going to jump right in. I have Josh, aka Mayo on the internet, joining me to talk about Tarkir DragonStorm and some of our picks for the most exciting cards of the set. Unlike the last couple sets, we actually have some solid cards coming in. Nothing hugely breaking, I don't think, but definitely some inclusion, some solid value or solid workhorses, I think, that could be included in existing decks, as well as just some generally good value cards that could see play or at least measure up against existing cards in the format to be above the benchmark of playable cards. So, Josh, what is up? How are you today?
I am doing wonderful. Sun's out, just coming through the window on my skin, loving it, warming up.
We are recording this at 9:40 p.m., by the way. The sun is not out, and Josh is lying to you all. So, Josh, I'm going to let you kick it off. Are you excited to talk about Tarkir DragonStorm? I have been following the set really, really closely through preview season, and although maybe not for Pauper, but by and large, this set looks incredible. Cons of Tarkir was one of my favorite limited sets in Magic ever. I played a ton of limited PTQs in this set. I played Standard during this time. Siege Rhino.deck was all the rage. Fetch lands were reprinted. I mean, man, this was a golden age of Magic constructed play, and I'm really excited to go back to Tarkir, and I'm really excited that they did this set justice, because it looks absolutely beautiful. The alt treatments for some of the cards are absolutely sick. The Ghostfire foiling looks amazing. And just in general, I'm really excited to rip open some pre-release kits of this set and maybe do some drafts or some sealed RCQs in the near future. Very, very exciting. So, Josh, I will let you take over for our first card here. What do we got?
I loved that set, too. Second only to Shards for me.
Yeah, Shards was probably my real constructed heyday. Shards of Alara was one of my favorites. Rafiq, shout out my boy, my first commander. Hard to forget that set. Had a big impact on me.
And then from back then, everyone's favorite 3-mana 5/4, Wooly Thoktar.
I was actually gonna say 5/5 in Doran the Siege Tower. What a card! That was from Lorwyn, but it was played in the same standard.
Yep.
Anyway,
okay.
Our first
to 2025.
Tarkir DragonStorm card. What do we got?
We have Salt Road Pack Beast. Love this card. I want all of the white cards that come in to play to have draw a card on them. The fact that it's got a good body and that it costs 1 under ideal conditions, maybe 2, is also a really good thing.
Josh, when I hit him with the mana cost and like text box and stuff, just so they know.
No, they can read it. It's on the screen. It's editing chat put it up.
No. Wow, and I pay you for these appearances, and you're over here.
Anyway, Salt Road Pack Beast costs 5 and a white. Its creature type is Beast, not too relevant. There's like one card in Pauper that really cares about Beast. And spells you cast 1 less to cast for each creature this spell costs 1 less to cast, big difference, for each creature.
Could you imagine? Holy!
Yeah, why is this in the honorable mention?
Right.
When this creature enters, you draw a card, and it's got a 4/3 body. Sure, dies to bolt, whatever, but it's going to cost 1 or 2 mana, and it's going to draw you a card when it enters, and it's going to be the biggest creature in your white deck. I like this way better than the Search Party Captain, because with him, you would have had to attack, or her, I haven't really looked at the art in a while. You need to attack first, so you'll wind up losing creatures, but with this, you just get to keep the pressure up. Even if you draw your land, you're not going to draw next turn.
Yeah, so this does allow you to use the discount in parity, which I suppose is a valiant point. I actually am of the complete opposite opinion. I think Search Party Captain is actually substantially better because it only requires a 3 mana discount versus a 5 mana discount to cost 1. Albeit it is a smaller body, but again, they both die to bolt. And I think largely just churning out 1 mana draw cards is probably what that deck wants to do. It also has access to things like Guardian's Pledge and Prismatic Strands, so the attacking has minimal downside. But largely in favor of Salt Road Pack Beast. I think the card is interesting. I think the effect is probably good enough to be notable. I just don't know if it's going to quite kind of break the threshold into playable cards. That remains to be seen. That being said, Search Party Captain also sees no play, so yeah. We'll see. Let's see. Next up is a card, Tempest Hawk. This is a 2/2 for 3 mana. This is a bird, and it has flying, as birds do. And it says, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a card named Tempest Hawk, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle. And then, crucially, a deck can have any number of cards named Tempest Hawk. Now, unfortunately, this card is not Squadron Hawk 2.0. If it ETB'd and got to search 2, this card would be, or search 2 or 3 or whatever, this card would be so powerful. As it stands, this card needs to connect in order to get 1 more. If it was search your library for any number, search your library for 3, any of those things, it would be much better. As is, it is probably okay. Might not make the cut. In fact, I'm pretty sure it won't make the cut. But the reason it is here on our honorable mentions list is this very crucial text at the bottom that says that can have any number of these. Like Heir Apparent, Dragon's Approach, Persistent Petitioners, Slime Against Humanity, all of these cards that have this text tend to generate hype and are worth at least knowing about, because if you ever are going to want to play them, generally cards with this text carry a premium price tag, so it is good to get on the train early, even if they won't see play, just so you do have a reasonable amount of them lying around in case you ever need them. And that's kind of what it's here for. This is here really as like a get 'em now, more so than it is a power level card. Josh, what do you think?
Tempest Hawk, it's a card. It's only exciting in the way that you say you can have multiple Tempest Hawks. Mm-hmm. Like you covered it already. It needs to grab more than one. And if it was an ETB effect, it'd be way better. But
can we talk about the art, though? I mean, come on, it's...
Oh, yeah, no, that's a Shrieking Hawk. That's not a Tempest Hawk. Come on.
Yeah, I'm also... You brought it up once, kind of offhandedly, but it does have 3 other hawks in the background, which definitely makes me think that maybe in some point in this card's design, it did ETB to get 3 more, or maybe it hit somebody and got 3 more, and they had to tune it. And then it eventually kind of became what it is now, and the art stayed the same. But the art definitely doesn't quite match up with the effect. Really not a fan of that. Wish it was just a little bit better, and we could have been really excited about this card. As is, this is more of a be aware this card exists and grab them if you want to grab them, but don't expect it to break the format.
Yeah, it's not. It's gonna have, I want to say, Heir Apparent stonks, and it's probably gonna be at its peak of expensiveness when it comes out, and then it's going to drop to nothing.
Right. All right, and next up, Josh, what is our final honorable mention?
Final honorable mention is a card that I like. It's called Sultai Devotee. It's got a colorless and a green for a zombie snake druid that has Death Touch, and pay a colorless, add a black, a green, or blue. Activate this only once each turn. And it's a 2/1. I like this card because, first of all, it's got a relevant creature type, although I want to say in the wrong color. It does still have 3, so there's that card that gives it bonuses based on card types and creature types, I think. Could be.
You mean Embiggen?
That's it.
Yep.
But it's got Death Touch, so it doesn't need to be big. But I do enjoy the fact that you can have it just in a green deck, and you can splash for either black or blue, and you don't need anything else. Granted, there are other cards that do that, such as
Orochi Leafcaller. Orochi Leafcaller.
Orochi Leafcaller, yes.
Yeah.
But you have to pay green to activate.
Right. Yeah. Doesn't take colorless.
Yeah. Which isn't really too big of an issue because you need green to cast it anyway.
Paying green to cast it.
Yeah. This is for if you have. You know what? This just turns it into a filter land. Okay. Sultai Devotee turns one of your lands into a filter land once each turn. The deck touch on it's relevant. I like it. It could be the Jaspera Sentinel 4, 5, and 6, or 5, 6,
sure.
7. However you want to split it. I don't know. I'm not your mom.
So for me, I'm pretty low on this card. This is a Josh request more than it is a communal agreement on an honorable mention. I think this card is significantly worse than Orochi Leafcaller 99.18% of times. The Death Touch is going to be relevant, which is the only reason it gets a percentage of less than 1 usefulness above Leafcaller. But largely speaking, if this had the Defender typing instead of Death Touch, or you remove the activate only once each turn text from this card, all of a sudden this is a walls playable, he's playing constructed, and I think it's just fine. As is, unfortunately, once per turn, and the lack of the Defender typing really holds this back from seeing any significant play in Pauper Constructed, I think. Now, that being said, there is a devotee that we will talk about that I do think will see play, and we will discuss that in just a moment. But before we get into our top 5 from Tarkir DragonStorm, we have a Josh's Hot Garbage recommendation. This is a new segment for these set reviews, which is a card that Josh believes in that I do not, so fervently that he threatens not to appear if I don't include it. So here it is, because we need him here for retention. So this is Devoted Duelist. And Josh, I will let you take it away and try to keep my comments to a minimum.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. He does want me here. Okay. So Devoted Duelist, colorless and a red. It's got relevant creature typing in Goblin, and it's got haste as the first keyword, which tells you it's the most important. Clearly, the rest of the text is important, but it reads as Flurry. When you cast your second spell each turn, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent, and it is a 2/1. I know what you're saying. 1 toughness, that's terrible. It dies to everything. And you are right. But who's going to want to use the mana to kill this? You just block with your little dinky whatever.
And the festivities?
Yeah, you block with your end the festivities. Thank you. But this guy just comes in, he swings when he can, and he's relevant when you aren't able to attack. I like him, I want to say, better than the 1/3, the Kessig Flame Breather, because the devoted.
Remember that, folks.
Yeah.
Josh pick TM. Devoted Duelist better than Kessig Flyer Breather.
You know why? It's because
Flame Breather.
it's Goblin Grenade, Kessig Flame Breather.
And why would you want to? Kessig Flame Breather is so much better on the board than this card.
Anyways.
Sorry, continue.
The second spell you cast, not even instant or sorcery, just second spell. So I think this fits into a list that runs very closely to the other Kuldotha shell that existed before its namesake got disemboweled. You just land a creature, or you cast the synthesizer and play whatever you got off of it, deal 1 to them, even if the Devoted Duelist can't attack in that turn, is still playing some role in the game. Bonus points if it's actually a burn spell, you point at their face and you get 1 extra damage. But yeah, that's why I like him, because he can be Goblin gradated.
Yeah, so can every other goblin in existence that I would run over this card. But you know what? You've convinced me. This card could see play in a red deck that doesn't exist because it's been banned. And that's about it.
Hot off the press.
All right, that out of the way, I will refrain from further comment on this card. I think this card is hot garbage, as denoted by the name of the segment. Next, we actually get into our top 5 for Tarkir DragonStorm. I'm going to lead us off on a card that I actually quite like, and so do you. This is Mardu Devotee, which is, I think, the only Devotee that's actually worth playing for various reasons, but realistically, I think that this is just going to fit right into a shell that wants an effect just like this. So Mardu Devotee is a 1 white human scout that's a 1/2, and when it enters, you scry 2, and it also has the Devotee effect for Mardu, which is 1 colorless mana. You can turn it into a red, white, or a black, and you activate it only once each turn. This card fits straight into both Mardu Synthesizer and Boros Synthesizer. Both decks want effects just like this. Most of them are already running at least 4, sometimes as many as 7 of the Inspector effects to add an artifact clue token, which is also a 1/2 for 1, so it's already running a very similar card type. Some number of those will essentially become this card. This card is very, very good for that. Obviously, Prophetic Prism entering the meta definitely changes the deck's needs, so it may not need this active as much as it did before the Prophetic Prism unban, but it still stands that ETB Scry 2 on repeat with things like Core Skyfisher are certainly going to be good at making sure that that deck either hits its land drops or it just in general doesn't gas out. It makes sure that it can stack its synthesizer hits correctly, all of those things. For that reason, this card is definitely going to see Pauper play at some level if either of those decks see play in the meta. It may even see play in the Orzhov variant running Grim Bauble, as we talked about in the Aether Drift variant. So if any of those decks see play, this card will certainly see play. And it may even see play in like mono white if Honor of the Pure, Guardian's Pledge. If Guardian's Pledge, Battle Screech, Prismatic Strands, Dot deck sees any number of pilots in this metagame, this card is almost certainly going to make it into that just as some form of white card selection, which that deck is sorely missing. Josh, I'll turn it over to you, but yeah, this card just kind of does what you want a white 1-drop to do. It's got a decent stat line for a 1-mana card. I don't think Human or Scout is going to be relevant most of the time realistically, but the Filter might, and the Scry 2 certainly will. So really excited to see this card enter the meta and see where it finds a home.
Yeah, no, I love this card. This is exactly what Mardu Synthesizer needed to actually be more consistent. Because that was the thing standing in its way. It was consistency. It wasn't power level.
Right.
This lets you run more untapped lands, I want to say. And Scry 2 is, I want to say, the best form of Scry, or the most comparable to drawing a card.
Right.
Scry 3, I think, there's some value beyond drawing a card at that point.
Sure.
Scry 2 is pretty much...
And I think any Fairy players can attest to that, right? Fairy Seer Scry 2 on ETB on a 1-mana card is incredibly good at widening your keep range, as well as just setting up very smooth draws in the early turns, and I expect this to have a very similar effect on like Mardu, Orzhov, and Boros type decks that are going to run it.
Yeah, it just
had you considered this card in Familiars at all? Because this also seems like it might be a card that could make that shell too. The ability to flicker it. Obviously, it's not it's not Seagate Oracle, which actually draws a card, but this being a 1-mana card that ETBs very quickly, very early on, kind of cinches up your red matchup and also scries on flicker, might not be the worst. Obviously, the filter isn't particularly relevant for you, but the ETB scrying on 1/2 body for 1 might be good enough. The more I talk about it, the less I think that it's likely. But I've been wrong about familiars before.
I want to say it's
frankly,
more likely than the blue one to make
right.
But yeah, this card is just insane, and I'm getting 4 foil, 4 non-foil. I love it.
Same. All right, moving on. Speaking of Seagate Oracle, we have my pick for a really good card coming out of this set, which is Sigtsig Appraiser.
It's a new segment.
Yeah, this is my hot garbage pick. But I think this card has some merit, and I'll talk about my justifications here in a second. This is a 3-mana, 2 and a blue zombie advisor. It's a 2/1. And when it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 2 of your library, you put one of them in your hand and the other in your graveyard. So it's a very, very parallel effect to Seagate Oracle. Notably, Seagate is a 1/3. This is a 2/1. They cost the same. They both have irrelevant creature types. The difference between the two is that Seagate puts one at the bottom. This puts it into the graveyard. Seagate currently sees play in exactly 2 decks. It is Blue-White Familiars and Flickertron, newly kind of unchained with the Prophetic Prism unbanning. And both of them use the graveyard as a toolbox / value engine with things like Archaeomancer, Mnemonic Wall, and Flicker effects to value out of the graveyard. Neither of them really have any way to get to the bottom of their deck. And this card, instead of hiding one away and putting one in your hand, puts one in your hand and one in the graveyard, which is essentially drawing 2 in those decks if it's a spell. So I find myself wondering if the 3 toughness is really important on Seagate Oracle, if that is the reason you're playing this card, or if it is simply just a card that can trade or can block or can be flickered, and it draws a card. This draws 2 cards. It can trade with Goblin Tomb Raider. It can also be flickered. It dies to pretty much the same removal spells that Seagate Oracle is going to die to, except for End the Festivities and maybe Lava Dart, which is seeing some play out of red now. But by and large, I think this does a very similar thing, but you get access to both cards instead of 1 card. For that reason, I think it's at least worth evaluating. Not sure if the body ends up letting it down here, but the effect is certainly better than Seagate. So for that reason, at least, it makes an appearance on the top 5 here. Josh, what do you? I know you're not as high on this card as I am, but what do you see any upside here?
I mean, there's definitely the upside and the ability, but for me, the downside of the sizing of the toughness is just too much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it seems like it's the things that kill Seagate also do kill this, but it feels like there's more things that kill this at the same mana cost, which is 1 red, which
yeah, probably.
You know,
I think realistically, in a red-heavy meta, both are going to be okay. They both kind of die to the same stuff, with the exception of things like End the Festivity and Lava Dart. But I really like this ability to trade with Tomb Raider. I think that's going to be fairly important. And something like Tomb Raider attacking into a Lava Dart or into an End the Festivities to kill Seagate and keep your Tomb Raider seems much, much worse than being able to trade with it initially. Now, that being said, again, if the toughness ends up really letting this card down, then fine. I understand. I acknowledge that the body is worse. But I think the effect is enough better to at least warrant some testing. So I'll be trying it out, seeing how it holds up. Maybe it makes the cut, maybe it doesn't, but it's worth looking at. So I wanted to call it out for you guys. The next card, Josh, you want to take this one?
Sure, I'll seize the opportunity on this one. So the next card is Seize Opportunity. Costs 2 and a red. It's an instant, and it's a modal one. You get to choose to either exile the top 2 cards of your library, and until the end of your next turn, you can play those cards. Or up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+1. Granted, that doesn't say creatures you control, so if your opponent's playing any phantasms, boom, you got them. You're winning that spell cast. But realistically, you're playing this for the exile top 2 cards. It's 3 mana, instant, draw 2 cards in red. The only thing that makes it better is if it's 2 mana, but I really enjoy how this can just do surprise 4 damage out of nowhere, and it can be incredibly beneficial if you're able to do it to put this effect on 2 of those first strike goblins with haste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very, very easy card to see succeeding.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this actually gets to make the cut in something like new Synthesizer Red. Unfortunately, 3 is just a lot to ask for in that deck. But that being said, a red instant speed draw 2 is very good. I do wish the second phase of this was, instead of 2 creatures get +2/+1, just a Trumpet Blast. I think it'd be really good if this was just creatures get +2/+0. Then maybe I could see a justification for 2 or so in the red deck, even though it does cost 3. You can Trumpet Blast when you have a full board. If they wipe your board, you can use it to refill. It seems like it helps both cases there. That being said, Trumpet Blast isn't going to be that much better than +2/+1 most of the time, especially in the new variant of red. You're not attacking with more than 3 creatures all that often. It can stack up, but without the ability to Kuldotha Rebirth into Bushwhacker, you don't really have that instant army effect. You have to build it up 1 creature at a time. So, yeah, all in all, I think a very just solid card. I wish that it was slightly better in the red deck. I don't think it's going to see play in like Synthesizer Red just because it costs too much mana. They're already running, 8, sometimes mostly 4 to 6 of these effects of the 2 mana variant, and I don't see instant really making it worth it to need a whole extra land. But I do think that we are getting very close to a critical mass of things that enable some form of Red Storm, right? We have Rend Resolve, we have Reckless Impulse, we now have Seize Opportunity, and we have Glimpse the Impossible. So we are getting very, very close to just having an absurd amount of red draw spells that don't require you to discard and can all be discounted with a familiar and just go up and up and up in cards. So I think that Kali is actually going to have a field day brewing Ruby Storm with this card. I'm not sure if it will end up seeing play in the competitive Pauper scene just because the aggressive red deck can't handle it. And the red dredge deck wants to put them in the graveyard, so it's not really running this either. It's more focused on things like Faithless Looting and Burning Inquiry. But if we ever do get to a point where the Ruby Storm deck hits a critical mass where it cannot fail anymore once it starts going, this card will almost certainly be a part of that. And for that reason, it warrants a spot here on the top 5. All right, next up is Heritage Reclamation, which is a new variant of a very familiar spell. It's a green and a colorless. It's an instant. It says choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or destroy target creature with... No, it doesn't say destroy target creature with flying. We're getting word. It says exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, draw a card. Holy shit, this card might be playable. I think we have finally gotten to a variant of this card that has enough utility stapled into it that it can finally see play. This card is, I think, the best variation of this we have gotten to date. Previously, we had things like Wilt, which was played at some point in Flickertron as kind of a toolbox. It was also played in like Turbofog as some sort of a toolbox sideboard piece where you could just cycle it if you didn't need it, but if you did need it, you had it. This, having the case of cantripping if you don't need it, is significantly better than cycling because you get the upside of exiling the card. And in a format full of things running Archaeomancer, Mnemonic Wall, Blood Fountain, all of these things that want graveyard value, just having a toolbox card that can just kind of got your target for your Dread Return and then draw a card for 2 mana is actually like a real card right now. And I'm really excited that we finally have like a super playable variation of this. Obviously, destroy an artifact is not as good as exile an artifact, and I think that D-Glamour will still probably be the go-to sideboard for things like Ponza against bridges. But against other green-based decks that aren't really contending with bridges, not trying to play the Ponza route, this is definitely a good option, and I think we've finally gotten to a point in these variations of destroy an artifact enchantment or do something relative to the set. We finally got a winner here. So, Josh, what do you think of this one?
The most exciting mode about this is the one that makes it different from the others.
Yeah.
And it says draw a card. Like, I very much like this. I have personally thought that it could fit in just as as a one of in the monsters spell. Or even
sure.
Ponza. Granted, you don't want to cascade into this and give away the jig, but
right.
if you do, it's way better than cascading into an enchantment to put on your land to tap for another green or red, you know? So, I like...
Now, it is worth noting that if you do some shenanigans and you ramp into a cascade spell and you cast this, and you don't have any targets in a graveyard, the only valuable target is your enchantments, or you may be forced to just throw this one to the bottom. But, yeah, I think this, like, because it's not a May, but I think this card's good. Like, this card is almost certainly at a level that it can see Pauper play. Obviously, Exile is better than Destroy, especially against bridges, but I think there are enough valid targets for value on this card in all of the modes, especially with this hitting like Makeshift Munitions, which is hugely popular, this hitting all of the other artifact lands, the non-bridges, this hitting Blood Fountains and all of those things, while also being good against the graveyard value decks. I mean, this just kind of does it all, and it's not up-costed, right? The last iteration of this we saw with a good third ability costed 3. Now we finally got one that costs 2, and it's actually good, and I'm really excited about it. But that takes us to our last card.
And it's one that I'm happy about.
Tarkir DragonStorm, and for that reason I will let Josh take over, but this is another one of the kind of familiar cards that has gotten just a little bit better, and it's finally at a place where it seems solid for play. So Josh, take it away.
So similar to the last card, this one deals with artifacts and enchantments. This one is Undergrowth Leopard. Costs a colorless and a green, and it's for a cat that's 2/2, so 2 power, 2 toughness, and it has vigilance. But it's also got a nifty little ability, and you pay a colorless and sacrifice this creature to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Period. No as a sorcery. Kind of has an invisible one-time only on it, but the importance of this is that you can do it at instant speed, which is, I want to say, the first one in green. I haven't taken a gander at that a bit, but it's the first one I can remember in green. I know there's the dog as well, but isn't that in white?
Not sure. I'm pretty sure that we have like Rampaging Brontodon or something, right? There's got to be another variant of the 1 mana sacrifice destroy it. Yeah.
Yeah, the 3 mana 3/4 dinosaur. Okay. But yeah, the importance of this is it costs 2 mana.
2.
Yep.
Right.
And also, I know it's kind of fallen out of favor because you haven't really been able to break it yet, but
No, Fall from Favor's banned.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I know the meta's kind of evolved away from this card, but Evolution Witness. If you can find a way to keep putting counters on it, then you can have this as kind of a toolbox card as well. It's not bad having it in the main, unless you're in a ramp deck, in which case you want to usually skip 2 mana.
Right.
But to be fair, with the effect, that's 3 mana. So I don't know.
Sure.
The math is mathing.
Yeah, I like this card. I mean, this is a card in a long line of cards of me just begging Wizards to finally downshift Reclamation Sage. For the love of God, just downshift Reclamation Sage. Or Aura Shards, or something. Like, just let the ability to ETB, destroy an artifact or enchantment, exist on a creature. It can be green, it's fine. But just give it, this sacrifice thing doesn't fly. It's never been good enough. It's very hard for me to believe that this is good enough, and the only reason I think that it warranted a spot here was because it only costs 2, and it's a 2/2 Vigilance body otherwise. I'm not sure that this finds a home in anything that's currently green, because every green shell is running ramp, which, as you mentioned, kind of skips the 2-drop slot. But if there is a need, this is the most efficient version of this effect we have gotten yet. Similar to Heritage Reclamation, this is another one in a long line of very similar effects of sacrifice, destroy, and we got like the red one in Dominaria United, right, where there was like the ape that paid 1 and sacrificed to destroy an artifact. Mm-hmm. So we've gotten very similar variants of this. We finally have one that destroys an artifact or enchantment that only costs 1. It's a colorless to activate. Like, we're taking steps in the direction of finally getting to Reclamation Sage, but we're not there yet. This is just the closest we've been. So for that reason, it earns the final spot on the top 5. Undergrowth Leopard as not quite Reclamation Sage, number 87, but it's the closest we've gotten. So with that, that's going to wrap up our Tarkir DragonStorm set review. As always, let us know down below in the comments if we missed one. Really interested to see what you guys think of this set. If you've played the pre-release already, let me know down below what was good, because I'm going to be playing a lot of Sealed in this set, and I need pointers. It's been a while. But outside of that, guys, if you have any wacky builds or cool stuff, make sure you join the Discord. There is a link down in the description. We have been talking a lot about the new Pauper meta with the bans and restriction update with the unbannings, trying to find the new best build before rolling into my West Coast Pauper Open. So those of you in California, make sure you do sign up. We have a couple weeks left. It's on the 19th, and I will be there, so hopefully I see you guys there with some awesome builds, and feel free to jump in the Discord and let's talk about some brews. Maybe do some webcam test games leading into the event. So thank you so much for hanging out. Josh, as usual, thank you for joining me. Back to your cage. And we will see you guys at the next set, but I will see you guys next week. I will see you guys next week for the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, bye forever. Let's see you next time.